I guess I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, but one thing that did inspire me was that there's a mental health social media post which says your older self will thank you for sticking around. I thought, wow, it's a really powerful, simple thought. And I saw that and I thought, kind of just led to this idea about what if this was actually a film with 3 life stages, 3 characters. And Omar over here, I cast him in another film that's due to come out next year. And it being the pandemic, it's really hard to do casting. Like we were often casting we did gardens, I think. We did a garden casting. We couldn't actually go into audition spaces like I would usually do. So I knew that Omar is such a talented, incredible actor. I'm very lucky to have met him, and I knew actually he has he's close to the subject matter in some respects, and so I thought, you know, he's the natural person for me to cast. And then it was a case of finding a younger version of Omar who had to be Avi, just the way he says tatas was incredible. I was sold after hearing that in the audition. And then I had to find an older version, of course, who was played by Bhaskar Patel, who kindly gave up his busy schedule in Emmerdale to do the film, which is great.
Cheers, well, and the location play. Obviously, the actors play a key role as the crew did, but the location is pretty key here. Poets Corner in Richmond Park. So, do you want to tell us how you found that, and and tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah. I'm going to pass this one actually to Omar in a sec because he actually lives very close.
Oh, there we go.
So we used to live very close to Richmond Park, and the one thing I will say with this film, you're trying to find a park with 3 benches. It's actually really hard. So we started thinking, like, do we bring benches to a park? And then obviously it's a bit like a stage because it's raised up as well. And I just asked Omar, like, do you know anywhere that is like this? And I'm going to pass you on to yourself because you're the one that found it.
Yeah, I mean, Will, said 80% of the story, but yeah, that's basically what it was. He asked me to try and find this location, and I just went on a walk around one day, and I just took a pack of cigarettes and a little poetry book, and I was just going to all these different spots that I knew, and I walked past, this spot is a small gated park within Richmond Park itself, and I remember walking past the fence, and next to it there's a place called King Henry's Mound, which King Henry, he would sort of stand on this mound and hunt his deer back in the day, and that's the main bit that everyone goes to inside this gated park. But there's this kind of forgotten about bit just before you go through this tunnel, with these, I knew it had benches, I didn't know how many it had, and I hate retracing my steps. Anyone who knows me knows that that's like a pet peeve of mine. And I thought, you know what, let me just go back on myself and see if it's a good spot. And I went back and I sent the pictures to Will, and he was like, wow, this is amazing, yeah, it's great. And I think when I first sent the pictures, the sort of grassy area in front of the benches was really grown out with these beautiful flowers, and they were really looked after.
It's gone.
And yeah, and then we went there and it looked great. And then when we got there on the day of filming, it had all been chopped down. But in a way, I think it's kind of,
It might have been too beautiful in a way.
it might have been too beautiful, yeah. So that kind of derelict look of all these like chopped down beautiful flowers maybe played into the story a bit better. But yeah, that's what we found.
Yeah, just really briefly on that, I think I had a slight nervous breakdown 2 weeks before the shoot because it was this beautiful, wild garden. Then there was a heat wave, so it turned into savannah. It was like yellow. And I think I was saying to Rob, we need to find a new location, what are we going to do? And then it rained for about 3 or 4 days. So it turned it into like, at least still kind of green and luscious, but it didn't need to be. I think for this story, maybe it was actually better that it wasn't like that picturesque, essentially.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, the magic of film, you have this impression of what it's going to be like, and then they chop it down. But as you say, it all worked out very nicely. So Omar, I'm gonna let me do this. Omar, I'm gonna walk wrong. I don't recognise you without your beard, actually. But what inspired you to play Middlemark?
What inspired me to play Middlemark?
What kind of why? What?
The honest answer was, I just started acting and I was like, I'll take anything. But also, on that point, anything I have taken since then has been. Yeah, cheers, Dad. You know, any project, and you know, my brother's a great actor as well, and we've always said, you know, when we do acting, we're going to choose projects that we care about. You know, this kind of fancy idea of acting. But I've been really fortunate enough to be a part of projects that I really believe in, and this one more than any of them, to be honest, really hits close to home. Anyone who knows me know that I suffered with, you know, quite a severe depression, really debilitating stuff, and this story is a really, you know, kind of mirrors my life really. You know, not too long ago I was pretty much bedbound, you know, living in fear, unable to do a whole lot, and now look, we're in a beautiful theatre with amazing people. And you know, that would be older Mark in this film. So yeah, I think it really touched close to home when Will told me about it. He sent it to me. I was like, yeah, sign me up.
Great stuff.
Glad it wasn't just because we asked. What have you done since, by the way? It's been 2 years, hasn't it? So you're beardless now. Yeah, what's been the last 2 years for you, professionally?
Yeah, it's been surprisingly busy. I've been really fortunate enough. Anything I've auditioned for, I've managed to get. I did that film with Will. We just wrapped that up in November. I've taken the summer off, but just before that, I was doing a theatre show. I think last year I was doing a theatre show before that film as well. So yeah, just keeping busy, doing little bits and bobs here and there. But yeah, you know, again, I kind of started acting later on in life, and you know, I'm taking it as it comes. But I am also being, like, you know, quite particular about the things that I want to be a part of. And I know that sounds really, like, stingy and arrogant maybe, but it's just, I'm doing it as a passion and not necessarily as a career. So yeah, I really want to do projects that I care about a lot.
Great stuff, thank you.
Let's bring in Avi. How are we doing, Avi? Good. So I suppose first question, because you've kept acting, we had a chat outside, didn't we? So what did you learn from, I suppose, working on benchmarks? Would be a good start, then we can get into the ice lollies. But first things first, yeah.
So first of all, I learnt a lot from Omar and Will, mostly keeping in my role, because I always realised that when Omar always, like, when it was a cut or something, Omar would always just stay in his role. He would still, you know, be sad, be Mark, and I was always like jumping up and going like, all right, when is next scene or something, which I really had to learn. I had to learn to stay in that role, and I had to learn to feel that all of that, what Mark would feel and how I should act. So I guess that's what I mostly learned, just staying in my role.
That's great. No, good answer. And the ice lollies, we talked about I've got a big loud voice, so we talked about obviously the flowers being cut down 2 weeks before, which was a little bit tricky. Another tricky part of the film was it was a hot day and we had loads of ice lollies and we had to try and keep them frozen, which was tricky. But have you had one of those ice lollies since? Because you had to go through a fair few, didn't you?
To be honest, I've been sick of them. I think it was about 51 on the set. But I have to say, the top part of the ice lolly is the best, the red bit. And I only got to have the best bit every time. And then I had to drop it. So that was good. But after that, I don't think I've ever had a ice lolly again.
Good answer. Next question. What does it feel like to turn into Omar here? I mean, that's
Oh
what
my
you're
god.
You have to go blonde in a year's time. So.
I mean, I actually quite like it. I really like it. Yeah, I mean, it feels... What was the question again?
It was more of a jokey question, but yeah, you turn into Omar, so yeah, so it was, you know, what would it be like to turn into Omar? He's a good guy, isn't he?
Yeah, it would be really nice.
Should we open up to the
Yeah, no,
audience?
absolutely.
We've got probably less than 5